drill one. They went in those seats. Good time for it. Come on, babe. That's a base hit. That's a base hit. Come on, Bronny, you got to score. You got to score. Attaboy. Nice going, Bronny. How about a 3-run shot? Boom. Shoot it out of a cannon. Let's go, Bobby. There he goes. Good. Running back. That's beautiful tag. Attaboy. Give him a little nudge. Attaboy. All right. Lose it right here, Vida. Lose it right here. All right. Come on. Attababy. Come on. Make it cost him a run. Let's go. Come on.
Midwest Federal's sports involvement extends far beyond radio and television coverage. In cooperation with the Twins, Midwest sponsors a series of youth baseball clinics throughout Midwest Territory. Under the guidance of Angelo Giuliani, boys from 8 to 18 are coached in the fundamentals of baseball. They are taught not only athletic techniques, but the attitudes of good sportsmanship and fair play that apply both to baseball and to life. The Midwest Federal Baseball Clinics are designed to build not just for better ball players, but for better citizens. They are a part of Midwest Federal's investment in the future of America.
There are many things that go into the ingredients of making up a Major League ball club. I think the utmost is pride in yourself as well as your organization, along with desire, the ability, and the proper makeup of veterans and young ball players. The Twins have been blessed with some fine veterans over the years. And a good ball club, I feel, builds its whole team and the nucleus of veterans that it has. One of those veterans is Harmon Killebrew. Harmon last year took over as the #4 man on the all-time home run list in Major Leagues. And he was the #1 right-hander in hitting home runs in the American League. And pitchers really have a tough time deciding what pitch to throw to him. But he's been up for it throughout his whole career, and has come up with probably more clutch hits for the Minnesota Twins than any one ball player. Harmon Killebrew is an asset to the ball club, not only with his bat, but with his attitude. He doesn't say too much, but when he does say something, everybody listens. He is truly the silent leader of this club. We have a young, exciting player who is also a veteran in Rod Carew. He's made the all-star team at second base 6 times in a row. And the big thing about Rod is that he's a complete player. He can run, he can hit, he can throw, and he does all of them equally well. Rod won the American League batting title again last year, and he didn't back into it. He played right up until the end, and he just battled everybody that came in sight.
For anyone to try and win a batting title, you have to be able to have good eyes, and you have to know what you want to do before you go up to the batter's box. And you know, you have to have good speed. Take myself, you know, I might go up there and, you know, I bunt 2 or 3 times a game because I'm an accomplished bunter, and I work hard on my bunting in spring training because it's part of my game. If you want to be a good hitter, you have to work on it. You can't just go out there and expect things to happen. You have to really go out there and bear down and be aggressive and do the little things that is going to make you a batting champion.
Danny Thompson was the pick of the Twins organization to play shortstop, and he didn't let him down. He played his heart out all last season.
When my arm was hurt last year, I was really worried at one time that maybe my career was over with. But it was kind of a shot in the arm to me when Mr. Griffith traded Leo Cardenas and said that I would be a starting shortstop if I could get my arm in shape. And this was really a great confidence builder to me. And during the winter, I don't think I could have worked any harder as far as lifting weights and getting my shoulder back in shape and getting ready for spring training. And with a lot of hard work, I got it coming around. Some people have been surprised in my hitting this year, but I feel that I can hit between 270 and 300 every year and help the club as much as I can as far as moving runners over and moving them into scoring position and being a line drive hitter, where this is the type of hitter that I am.
Dick Woodson requested 2 years ago to go back to the minor leagues and work on his pitching, and it proved invaluable to him as he was the Twins' most consistent pitcher throughout the long haul last year.
As far as myself, in the year that I've had, I think this is probably the best I've pitched. I learned how to challenge the hitter. I learned how to get my breaking ball over when I was behind the hitter and to be more consistent in my pitching. I think these things have really developed me as a pitcher. I think also that for myself, the change of managers really helped. In the first part of the year, I was very uncomfortable and non-confident, but when Frank Quillisi took over, he changed that policy. He gave you all the confidence in the world. He came out when you were in trouble and he says, I'm just coming out to give you a breather. He says, I want you to go get him.
Dick, I think you let that ball that got by you upset you. You came right back and you went at him, just got it up into his eyes, that's all. Come on. Don't let that damn thing go. The thing happens, you just got to go back and get the next guy, that's all. Come on, kid. Follow through and just go on. Don't let him score anymore. My role as a manager is all-encompassing, I feel. I knew when I took over the manager's job that it wasn't going to be easy.
Be a flare! Be a flare! Be a flare! Son of a gun!
And I think one of the toughest parts that I learned in being a manager this year were in the split-second decisions that I had to make during the course of the game. I'll tell you what, go Strickland. We'll go... Yeah, let's see what happens here. I might need him right now. Stay in the ballpark. Stay in the ballpark. Get Strickland up. How far away is he? About 15 pitches. I'm going to bring him in, Dick, and just going to give him a couple more pitches to go, babe.
That's it!
Ground ball to Carew, baby.
Take your time, Junior. All right, come on. All right, gang.
Couldn't cut a hole through that fence, huh? Couldn't cut a hole through that fence and get it on the other side. Bronny, you don't have a darn thing to do but get a base hit. Or a home run. Is that the same as a base hit?
Come on, kid, get all blood in your eyes and go get him. Go out of here. Go out of here. All right. Come on. And a baby. Look at that little guy. Got it, he's tough. He's a tough little monkey. Oh, geez, don't come over the top. Don't come over the top on him. Nice going, Bronny. Start enjoying the winning, gang. Start enjoying the winning. That's when it's good. Come on.
Every major league club has to bring along some young players to take the place of players that get traded, players that have retired, players that just get out of the game. And last year's team we had a number of young players that had to more or less, well, just put up with the burden of playing every day when they really didn't have an awful lot of the background that was necessary to play in the major leagues. I think the young player today has had a lot of pressure put on him because of the fact he didn't get as much opportunity as players of the past did to learn his trade. This year we had a kid come along by the name of Bobby Darwin, who's actually 29 years old but is still a rookie. And you know, Bobby was a pitcher for 7 years in the Dodger farm system and only played a year in the outfield. And I've seen guys that have played all their life in the outfield and still haven't made some of the advances that Bobby made last year. And where would the Twins really have been, even though the finish wasn't quite as high as we wanted it to be, without Bobby Darwin's bat? I think he's going to be an all-around complete ball player because he can run, he's got a great arm, he can hit with power, and I think he can field.
I first started playing baseball. I started, you know, as a pitcher, and all the way up until about a couple of years ago, they converted me into an outfielder, and I think that I'm still developing as an outfielder and as a hitter. I have a lot of power, and I can hit the ball off the ballpark, and I try to take advantage of that. And of course, I guess everyone knows that I do strike out a lot, and I think that as I play, the longer I play, the better hitter that I'm going to become. And I think that one day that I will develop into a 300 hitter in the major leagues.
Steve Braun's the type of kid that when we had him in spring training didn't really know where he was going to play in the infield or even the outfield. But he worked his tail end off at all the positions, tried to earn himself a spot in the starting lineup. I always felt that he could hit because he's been swinging the bat and he's got that type of aggressiveness that is hard to find in a lot of ball players. But it was his fielding that was going to be the doubt. But he's done a heck of a job in the infield for the Twins, and I think he'll do a heck of a job in the future. Glenn Borgman has all the physical attributes that you like in a catcher. He can block the ball, he can throw well, and I think his hitting is going to come around and progress as the years go by.
Making the change from the minors to the majors, I found like if I could just be myself and relax and play my game and not let little things like errors and if I miss a ball or a pop-up, not let it bother me, just to play my game and go out there every night and be myself, and I think I could hit the major league pitching. I think I'm a more line drive hitter than a home run hitter. I feel maybe someday, as I get to know each pitcher on each team in the league, maybe someday I can hit 300 in the big leagues, and I think that's my goal.
Dave Gold showed last year that he has the guts and the desire to win in the big leagues. He challenges the hitters, he's got a good arm, and he's got about 3 good pitches.
Being brought up in the mid-season is tough on a pitcher. Like myself, I was a starter before I was brought up as a relief pitcher, and this was done to kind of relax me and get my feet wet, so to speak. Mistakes up here are just hit a lot harder than they are down in the minor leagues.
Well, I think we've got the veterans on this ball club and the young players and the pride that's so necessary to be a pennant contender. And that's what we're after next year. Win that pennant.
I'm Hal Greenwood. We like to think of Midwest Federal as the #1 sports fan, as the savings institution responsible for bringing more sports action, and in particular, the Minnesota Twins radio and television. We also like to think we are helping up-and-coming contenders by sponsoring the Twins baseball clinics. Over 7,600 boys and 2,500 adults attended the clinics throughout Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa this past season. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Frank Quillisi on his first full year as a manager and wish him well in 1974. Now let's see some of the action of 1973.
Hello, I'm Ray Scott. We're going to look back at the 1973 season of the Minnesota Twins. We're going to look at a team that produced the American League batting champion for the second year in a row. And we'll look at a former American League batting champion in a new role in 1973. We'll look at a team that produced a 20-game winner. But perhaps more important than anything else, we're going to look at a lot of young players, players the Twins are counting on to lead them to a championship. Pitching is recognized as the backbone of every Major League ball club. Certainly the ace of the Twins pitching staff is Bert Blyleven. 1973 was definitely a banner year for Bert. He made the All-Star team for the first time. He won 20 games for the first time. And he also set a team record for strikeouts.
This year I was extremely happy with the year I had. The biggest thrill this year was for me making the All-Star team. I set a couple records. I broke the strikeout record for the Twins. I had most complete games. I had 9 shutouts this year. Also, I think an exciting part was winning 20 games, and I think I hope I can win 20 games for lots more seasons to come. I really don't think I have a best pitch. I rely mainly on my fastball and curveball. I can strike out, I think, anybody with my fastball and curveball, and when I go out there, and if it isn't a tight situation, I'm going to make them hit my best pitch.
Arizona State University has produced many exceptional baseball players, and at midseason, the Twins, through the Major League Draft, acquired one of that school's most highly touted pitchers, Eddie Bain. Eddie's first start attracted the largest regular season crowd in the history of the Twins.
My first year, half year of pro ball, my accomplishments and my goals, I don't set any goals for myself. Just being up here is a goal enough, and I just hope I can set a trend for the smaller player. I just like to get in some games and get a chance, because I think that's what they have me up here for, is to try and get some people out. My best pitch undoubtedly is a curveball, and I just thrown it the other day in the bullpen, and I think it's not really a curveball. It's kind of a cross between a slider and a curve, called a slurve ball, and it's a pitch that sets everything else up, and I'd also throw a changeup and a fastball. Everyone's told me up here the key to winning is to throw strikes and to change speeds, and if I can do that, I hope I can win.
Whether he is ultimately used as a starting pitcher or reliever, the Twins surely expect big things from young Eddie Bain. The Twins pitching staff, one of the youngest in baseball, also included fastballer Joe Decker. Dave Goltz, Ray Corbin, Dan Fife, and Vic Albury. In 1973, Jim Cott started the year with the Twins, but late in the season was sent to Chicago as Minnesota leaned heavily on the development of its young pitching staff. In the outfield, new twin Larry Heisel showed versatility at the plate and in the field. Bob Darwin continued his power hitting. He led the team in RBIs and home runs. Outfielder and sometimes first baseman Jim Holt added consistent hitting and fine fielding. The most pleasant surprise for the Twins in the outfield in 1973 was the late season development of Steve Bry. He showed that he had the great range it takes to play center field. He also proved he could get the clutch base hit. And also hit for power. Baseball has always been considered a great family game. So we thought you might enjoy family baseball, twin style. The word which best sums up the achievements of Rod Carew is fantastic. He made the All-Star team for the 7th year in a row. He won his 3rd American League batting title. A true superstar. Also in the infield in 1973 was the team's outstanding rookie, Jerry Terrell. A native Minnesotan, Jerry played the role of utility man, and he filled in well at third, shortstop, and second base. Even though they were slowed by injuries during the season, Danny Thompson and Steve Braun made big contributions in the field and at the plate. A pleasant surprise was the play of catcher George Mitterwald. Mitty enjoyed his finest season. He proved he could swing the big bat. And he also showed that he indeed had a major league arm. The 1973 season was highlighted in the American League by the adoption of the so-called designated hitter rule. By this rule, a team could name one batter to hit in the place of the pitcher, without the pitcher having to leave the game. Now, this job, in the case of the Twins, rested, you might say, on the knees of Tony Oliva. Knee surgery had severely hampered Tony's ability to play in the field, but it certainly did not affect his great talent of hitting.
Last year, before I hear about the rule, and after I have the operation, I think about if my play career finished. They don't want to keep the guy around if you can contribute to the ball club in one way or another. But after I hear the new rules, I think I could be able to play another 5 or 6 years.
The designated hitter for us was godsend, really, with Tony Oliva in the situation that he was in. He wasn't able to play defense, and we were able to use him the entire season. And he hit very well for us in the clutch, and I'm sure gave him a lot of confidence that possibly he could come back. As far as the game itself, I think the designated hitter has added an awful lot of action to it. I know for me that it has kept the game going in the strategy of the hit and run, the steal, and just using your hitters more effectively. It's been a very big asset to us.
So 1973 was a year of development for the Twins, a year in which the young players gained a valuable year of experience. A year in which the Twins took another step toward its ultimate goal, the pennant. It's fun to watch Twins baseball. Get your group together now. Contact the Twins ticket office, Metropolitan Stadium, Bloomington, Minnesota.
This is Bowie Kuhn, the Commissioner of Baseball. In 1970, we decided we had better take a very careful look at the situation in baseball. At that time, there was increasing concern in our country about drug abuse. So we asked our clubs and our club physicians to examine the situation in our game. And we found that there was not a serious drug abuse problem in baseball. However, it was the very strong recommendation of our baseball physicians that we have this drug education and prevention program. Our program has been widely praised by the President of the United States, senators, congressmen, civic leaders at all levels. There are 4 basic and important purposes to this program. The first of these is to keep baseball free from any drug problem. I think the importance of that is obvious. Secondly, we want to protect the health and safety of our players. Obviously, a player who might be involved in drug abuse is a danger not only to his own health, but to the health of the players against whom he competes. Thirdly, we are determined to preserve the honesty, integrity, and good name of our game. Fourthly, this program, which is going to be a continuing program, covers all of professional baseball, major league, minor league, players, other personnel, everyone. The program will involve our people in a very large way in community action programs. We have outstanding players like Reggie Smith, Wes Parker,
Pete Rickert, and professional people like Dr. Garrett O'Connor, an outstanding expert in the field of drug abuse, Dr. Peter Lamott, president of the Major League Team Physicians Association, Bob Bowman, veteran trainer for the St. Louis Cardinals, Dave Hull, popular disc jockey with station KGBS in Los Angeles, and Henry Fitzgibbon, director of security for the Commissioner's Office.
We have prepared and have distributed to all of you, or if you have not received it, you will, a booklet called Baseball versus Drugs. I urge you to read this booklet and to thoroughly understand it. The story is here. This booklet, taken together with what you can learn from your club and from your physician and from your trainer, will give you what you need to help keep the problem of drugs out of our game.
You don't have to go to the bottom of the ocean to know that it's deep. You don't have to go up and jump off the top of a tall building to know that when you hit the ground, you're going to be dead. And you don't have to put a gun up to your head and pull the trigger to know that when that bullet comes out the other side, your lights are out for good.
Well, how do you feel about professional athletes? Do you think they should become involved in a program like this? And how does a professional athlete become involved in a serious problem?
Kids are just crying for somebody right now to come out and talk to them. And they look up to professional athletes.
What about later? Does he have to educate himself?
Oh, yeah. They appreciate your being there, but you better know what you're talking about. And if you as an athlete go in to talk to young people about drugs, you have to educate yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Pete Rickert. The gentleman with me is Jonathan Edges.
Hi.
We'd like to talk to you a little bit about drugs. If you do have any questions, we would like to get into it as quickly as possible. Now, are there any questions? Yes, Mike.
If you take marijuana and then fire heroin, what will the effects be?
Well, actually, when you shoot heroin, if you're getting a good dosage of heroin, you don't really care too much for the marijuana. And most of the time when you hear about addicts doubling up with their drugs is because he doesn't have a good shot of heroin, and to follow up marijuana will just carry him a little higher and help him to get higher.
How is marijuana used?
They call it smoke, they call it pot, weed, grass, reefers, all sorts of names. But it is basically used as smoke. Marijuana is a weed that will grow almost anywhere and is one of the few drugs on the market that is not addictive. Addictive as far as the want of it physically, but when you can get high enough and use it enough, you can create a mental want for it or a mental addiction.
We've heard two different sides. We've heard the side where if you smoke pot, you won't go on to harder drugs. Then you've heard the people that have said, if you do, you will. Now we're finding that the pot grown in Vietnam is 200 to 400 times stronger than anything grown in the rest of the world. So now what we've got is a problem of bringing home tens of thousands of boys, and a percentage of which have tried pot there, who are returning to the United States, that are trying pot that is being grown either in the United States or in Mexico, and they're not getting high. Now, consequently, they are going on to harder drugs.
It's like we've all had a toothache, right? And you take one aspirin today and the pain goes away. And now the next day the toothache's still there and you take the one aspirin and it doesn't go away. You need 2 aspirin. Well, this is the same as with drugs.
You have to go to college or like SC Medical Center or UCLA, which is a research center for marijuana. And you have to make appointments and see doctors and sit down and talk to these people and take notes until you know exactly what you're talking about, what the drugs are, what they can do to you, why you shouldn't take them, who's taking them, how much they cost. You should prepare yourself so that you can answer any question that one of those youngsters wants to ask you when you go out and talk at their school.
What would happen if you take whiskey and didn't take dope?
If you was really drunk or really high off of alcohol and take a shot of narcotics, you will go out of it. I can recall one incident where one man, you know, he died because of this, and I had to leave him in the alley because there's nothing I could do.
It wasn't until abuse of drugs moved out into the suburbs, into the white areas of the country, into the rich people's homes, the middle and upper middle class people, the politicians' sons, the judges' sons, doctors' sons and daughters, that people began to get worried and concerned. And it's just the same kinds of attitudes that parents have now about drugs as they used to have about sex. And they're so uptight that they won't talk to you about it. And you've got to keep it secret as a kid because it's illegal. There is no communication. The parents are afraid. The kids are frightened. And when they're frightened and isolated, there's more drugs.
If you shoot dope and miss your vein, what will happen?
If you miss your vein, your arm have a tendency to swell up. How many of you seen the big swollen hands on the street? Okay, this is where they come from.
What would happen if air got into the needle?
If air gets into the needle, then once again you've got a chance of killing yourself. Air in the needle will definitely kill you.
If a lady that is pregnant take drugs, and then she take methadone to get off the drugs, would the baby be addicted to the drugs?
A woman who is pregnant and is a heroin addict, most of the time when the baby is born, the baby will be born a heroin addict and immediately start through withdrawal.
The methadone for detoxification is used to cushion the shock of withdrawal. And the addict that's pregnant, by the time she's been fully detoxified, then the baby is completely cured also.
What drug is it that will make you fly?
Most of your other drugs, as heroin and your pills, will leave the system within 24 to 48 hours. You'll pass them through your body. But acid, LSD, will not pass through the body, and this is a great danger of it. But LSD is probably the one that would give you the effect of thinking you can fly most, because you hallucinate and don't see things correctly, and you see colors and all sorts of crazy things look different.
For example, Pete Rickard, who's been working with me in Baltimore this year, met a fellow just the other day whose brother had jumped out the second-story window of his apartment thinking that he was on the diving board of the swimming pool, and it was in midwinter. He's very seriously injured and he may die. And that is purely as an effect of LSD.
It is very harmful in the fact that it will make you hallucinate, and it will make you, you could lose your mind in it very easily. Many, many people have been put in insane asylums and asylums for the mentally ill because of LSD.
I spent quite a long time during the summer talking to the major league teams, to very many of them. And I learned a great deal from those talks. And one of the principal things that I learned was the stresses and strains and difficulties of being a professional athlete. It is absolutely certain that people get involved in drugs because of stress of one kind or another. And certainly professional athletes are under stress, and young people are under stress. And so therefore, you're vulnerable. Many doctors think of drug abuse as an illness. I tend to think of it as more as a career. And an addict, or somebody who is dependent on a drug, lives only for that drug. He can't do without it. If he doesn't get his drug, he goes into withdrawal. Pains that go on for days and days, screaming, agonies, hallucinations, horrors, delusions. It really is a frightening thing. And so the addict will do anything at all to prevent himself from going into withdrawal, anything. rob from his family, mug, steal, burglarize, sometimes even murder. But it's because he's got that in his guts that he has to do it.
There are an estimated 1/2 million narcotics addicts in the country today. Millions of people regularly or occasionally illegally use the pep pills such as the greenies, the yellow jackets, who use LSD, marijuana, hashish, and other drugs of abuse. The majority of these users are in the 15 to 20-year-old age group. This traffic in narcotics and dangerous drugs has become the #1 law enforcement problem in the country today.
I know a dealer who's in the jail in Baltimore at the moment. And he told me that he has dreams, marvelous dreams, of having in every club, in every major league club, in every football club, in every basketball club, in every hockey club, just one guy who's addicted to drugs. Just one guy in each club. He says none of the dealers around the country would ever have to work again because they could control all of gambling, all of the sports through one guy in each club.
Users who volunteer for treatment can expect leniency. If they can kick the drug, they are returned cured to society. The sellers, or the pushers as they are called, can expect severe penalties from the prosecuting authorities. Now, professional baseball has a strict rule against the illegal use of drugs, and as I've told you, it's also a criminal offense. Don't jeopardize your future on this stuff.
The consequences of taking drugs, mind-altering drugs, are much more serious than those of alcoholism because of the legal penalties involved.
Can people get very sick by taking drugs?
Yes, people can take drugs and become very sick. In the top half of the line, if you go to heroin, of course, with a dirty needle, you have the chance of getting hepatitis, and passing the dirty needle from one person to the other, you can pass on the disease. You can also get maybe a small piece of cotton caught on the end of that needle, and it'll go through your bloodstream. That can hurt you also.
And it's incredible that the damage we see in the hospital that comes from glue sniffing. Brain damaged, children ruined at the age of 11 or 12 or even younger, ruined for life, unable to do anything or to be anything that they want.
Give them the facts, and then let them make up their own minds. Now, we've done that also by perhaps advising, but we always let them know. We say, if you want my advice, I wouldn't do this or I wouldn't do that.
Why do drugs mess up your mind?
By using amphetamines, you speed up the process of the brain. You make it overwork. You make it work too fast. You speed up the blood flow of the body, so you have more chances of hurting yourself that way.
In 1969, there were 381 tons of barbiturates manufactured in this country. They calm you down, calm your nerves. They also dull your brain and slow your movements. They're called downers on the streets. And barbiturates can eventually cause dependency and addiction of the worst possible type.
What is the story about professional baseball players? And the kids ask this. They want to know, what is the real truth behind the professional baseball player and drug taking today?
Well, Dave, it happens. It does occur, and we know this. But these players, in my opinion, and doctors' opinions, are only hurting themselves. And a player who goes the amphetamine route and who grows to rely on amphetamines in order to play is shortening his career. And this is a fact, because amphetamines will burn out your system early, Dave, and this is just something that athletes are going to have to realize. There is no such thing as a pill that can make any athlete perform any better than he could by staying healthy.
One of the main cop-outs that seem to be used by a lot of youngsters is in saying that, how can you knock it if you haven't tried it? Well, I have tried greenies, and my own personal physician told me this is the quickest way for me to kill myself because I have a history of high blood pressure, and there are people that I'm responsible for, not only myself, but my family, and I'm very concerned about them, so because I know that they rely upon me to provide for them, and I want to make my career last as long as possible.
They're the ones that change the way you feel, change the way you see, change the way you move, change the way you perform, change the way you perceive the whole world around you. They also, every one of them, have the effect of making the person who uses them dependent on them and eventually addicted. A pitcher may be able to throw the ball maybe 2 miles an hour faster with amphetamines, but he's going to throw more wild pitches. An outfielder may be able to throw it 20 feet further, but he's going to miss the plate more often. Amphetamines have the effect of increasing the rate of your heart. They make your pulse beat faster. And mentally speaking, they make you feel stimulated. They give you a high. They make you feel that you're doing better than you are. But like all of these drugs, the effect they give has a price to be paid for it. And while amphetamines may make you feel stronger, may make you feel good, may make you feel confident, they reduce your performance in many different ways.
If there are any problems that you have or difficulties that you have, they have people that you can go to help you get your problems straightened out so far as hitting is concerned. If you feel that you have to take the drugs because of this is why they provide hitting instructors and managers and coaches and so forth.
We have taken a stand in professional athletics that drugs do not help in any way a professional athlete perform his sport. By drugs, I am talking about hard drugs and primarily amphetamines, the bennies, the greenies, the uppers, the speed.
And it's quite pathetic to see a fellow who's been involved with a drug of this kind, and the effect of the drug is to make him think that there's no harm being done, that he's better than he ever was before, while everybody around him can quite clearly see that the guy is hooked, that he's failing, that he's on his way out.
Has there ever been a place in your organization to use stimulants? Did you use diet pills in the old days, amphetamines? Did you find it was helpful?
We never knew what they were. I never cared to know about them. I've been very fortunate to have such great ball players. Bob Gibson, who's one of the greatest that ever put on a uniform, made all these accomplishments without the use of drugs.
I really didn't have the concentration, and it is known that you definitely lose your concentration, especially when you're at the plate and in the field, because there are too many other things on your mind to allow you to have total concentration. And you can begin to imagine what will happen when a pitcher is throwing the ball at an average of about 85 miles an hour while you're at the plate, and you have less than a second to make up your mind as to where the pitch is going to be. You can pretty much say that if you're not together, you're going to be in trouble.
Baseball is tough enough to play under normal conditions, as you can see.
Well, they tell a story of 3 addicts who go to a place that has a very large door and they can't get in. And the one addict is an alcoholic. And his answer to getting in is, let's beat the door down, because he's got a little alcohol in him and he thinks that he's strong enough. The other is a heroin addict. The way his mind works when he's high and feeling good is that he says, oh, let's go to sleep, they'll open the door in the morning. That's his mind. But the guy who's on amphetamines or pep pills, his mind is so small that his word is, let's go through the keyhole, which is silly. Now, you are normal, you are not high. Can you really imagine yourselves going through a keyhole? No, right. But this is what pills can do to you. This is where they can take you to thinking you could go through a keyhole. And that is not where it's at. It can't be where it's at.
Because I think it's very important in baseball to be well conditioned. He has to have good reflexes, good coordination, and strength. And if it would just be normal, his ability will carry him through. It has in the past, and it will in the future.
If you're not playing the type of baseball that you think you should be, a pill is not the answer. The answer is to work harder, and there's just no substitute for that.
What would happen if you take speed every 2 hours?
If you took speed every 2 hours for about 8 hours, I don't think you'd go to sleep for about 3 days, first of all. You'd be that hepped up. Second of all, I think if you took speed every 2 hours, you'd have a very good chance of killing yourself.
Why do people abuse drugs?
In working in the clinic, we get reasons like I'm oppressed, the government doesn't like me, the state doesn't like me, you got to use drugs because this is an evil world. Well, I don't agree with that. I think, and in talking with John, that if you go into drugs, you choose to go into drugs. You have to choose to go in. You have to choose to start on drugs. And also, The #1 place that you will be introduced to drugs is through friends. Friends who are a little bit older maybe and have drugs. And they'll say to you, come on, be part of the group, be part of the crowd. And if you don't, you're a chicken, right? Well, if the same guy took you to the top of this school building and said jump off, would you jump? No. No, you'd rather be chicken. So maybe we can coin a phrase here today. Maybe we can say it's better to be a live chicken than a hooked hero on drugs.
There may be many of you who are afraid of getting into or becoming involved in drugs, afraid of perhaps getting hooked, and you don't want to talk to anyone about it. You may have friends who are going down the road of drug abuse and they don't know what to do and you don't know what to do. Well, there are things you can do. You can talk to your team physician, talk to the trainer, even talk to a friend or a relative about what you think may be a problem. And perhaps in that way, you'll be able to get out of the scene before you get into it. Because believe me, once you're in it, it is almost impossible to get out.
You've heard about the dangers of drugs from the physicians. You have heard about the work that can be done by all of us to prevent the problem in baseball and help prevent it outside of baseball. To make our program effective, I have directed that all clubs in the major leagues and all clubs in the minor leagues will report any instance of illegal drug use or involvement to my office or to the office of the President of the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues. We must insist that all baseball personnel obey federal and state laws dealing with drugs. Where we find violation of these laws, we will consider what disciplinary step should be taken. We all know that drug abuse is a dead end. Nowhere is this more dramatically so than in athletics. Let's all resolve first to continue baseball's fine record of freedom from drug abuse problems, and secondly, to give our time, our efforts, and our good names to help the fight against this dread social disease at our local community levels.